Alright guys, I'm back. Sorry about not being here for a while, but I'm back now. It's been crazy. We've been trying to buy a house, and as I'm sure you're aware, like everywhere else in the country, our housing market is just insane. Just crazy. So, everyone's noticed there is a new version of Lightburn out, and it's pretty darn good. So I wanted to go over that with you and kind of go over some of the cool features that I like, and some of the things that I've done with it so far. So let me show you that real quick. One of the things that you'll notice is Laser Tools now has its very own menu system, which I think was a brilliant move on the part of Lightburn. Of course, it came only a month or two after I put out a comprehensive Lightburn tour, and then they went and moved things on me, but that's absolutely just fine. So a couple of things in here. Print and cut is still the same, and you know me, I like to use print and cut for everything that it's not designed to be used for. And I was kind of thinking, you know, why not see what else we can do with some of these other things. So there's a focus test in here that is very simply going to do a bunch of lines. I set mine to go from 3 millimeters to 8 millimeters. Let me grab this board that I was working on, and I'll show it to you real quick. So this board, excuse me, this board I did the focus test on, and I had to do it twice because I needed to understand what it was doing. So I'm going to show you the first time I did the focus test, and it looks like this. Let's see if I can get that to focus. There we go. So yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like crap. And the reason why is I set my focus like I normally would. The focus test, though, what it actually does is that 3 millimeters, it actually moves the entire z-axis down 3 millimeters, and then depending on how you have it set up, it will go through different increments. Mine went from like 3 to 3.2, 3.5, 3.7, and then 4, and then so on and so forth, following that same pattern all the way through. And when I did it the second time, I pretty much brought the laser head right down on top of the material, not using the autofocus, of course, but using the drop down from the thumb screw on the laser assembly, and you can see that the difference there that I get, if I can get that to focus, quite a big difference. What I found interesting is Thunder Laser gives us a general guideline of 6 millimeters focus, which is way down here, okay, and it's not in focus very well. You can see 5's up here, 4's up here. I found that 4.7 for me seems to be the best focusing distance from the surface of my material if I want to be in perfect focus at the very top of that material, meaning the smallest spot size. So if I'm doing a detail engraving, I'm going to want to use 4.7. So then one of the things I did is I went ahead and I built myself a gauge that measures out the different sizes there that I'm going to be using. And I kind of figured, well, I'll give myself a 4.7, a 5.0, and a 5.2. And I mean, these are tiny incremental differences. And I don't even know if you'll be able to see on camera the actual differences there or not, but yeah, you kind of can. I mean, we're talking about 0.3 millimeters between the first step and the middle one, and 0.2 millimeters between the middle one and the last step, right? that's not much of a difference, but yet on the board, it made a huge difference in how well it focused. And again, there we go. The 4.7 was the best. It was the smallest width of a line, and it just came out the best. So that's why I made this tool. You'll notice this tool here, okay, it has on both sides the measurements. And the way that I did that is when I cut it out of this piece of wood, right? So it was in here like this to begin with. And it did the engraving and cut it out, right? Then what I did is I flipped this board over in my machine, flipped this over and put it in backwards like that, and then I used print and cut to line it up after mirroring my artwork. I used print and cut to line it up so that my measurements were on both sides of my little measuring tool, right? So again, something you can use print and cut for that is not super common. Great. All right, so focus test. That's what focus test does. Pretty cool, right? We used to have to, if you wanted to do a real focus test, you would build a ramp, and then you'd run your laser in a straight line down that ramp, and then you'd measure along it to see where it went. This is much more efficient. You could do it on a flat stock. It doesn't have to be a ramped up. You don't got to worry about what angle the ramp is at or anything like that. You just figure out what increments you want to run, what distances you want to run, what speed you want to run it at. I ran that at 100 millimeters a second. Very cool. Now, love that one. Thought that was a very nice feature to add. Somebody said it was already there beforehand. I had never seen it before. It totally could have been. I know I am not at all the foremost expert at Lightburn. I just like to share what I have learned and things that I do that other people may not have thought of. All right, interval test. Let's look at a preview of this one. I have not run this one yet, but you can pretty easily see what it's actually doing here. Okay, so these are spaced further apart than these are. These being the lines that make up the image. So starting here at 0.11, and then going all the way to 0.07. You could watch what it's going to do here. If we play it back at a high speed, each one of these gets faster and faster because it has less lines to basically do. And then that's that. Okay, so interval test, this is something that we used to have to go to the web and use a utility out there to create a SVG file that then we could import into Lightburn and do an interval test that way, which I have some interval tests over here. Let me show you this real quick here. So I did an engraving power test. This is just on plywood, right? So an engraving power test. And you can see what I did was, here's the power scale, 10 to 100%. Speeds down the sides, 100 millimeters up to 500 millimeters a second. And then if you look, you can kind of see the different depths there. Some of them went all the way through, others didn't. So depending on the speed or whatever. So that's an engraving test, downloaded off of a site, I forget where. Here's one that was actually, this was actually meant for the Thunder Laser Odin system, which is a faster engraving system. It can go up to 2,000 millimeters a second. This cannot, so that's actually wrong. This only went to 1,000, but it's still a nice little test piece. I like the way this one looks out of all of them, which is why I downloaded it and modified it to make it work. Here's another one. This was a cut test. and I cut it out wrong. So I've got the percentages, but I didn't get the speeds down the sides because like I said, I cut it out wrong. So I think it was 10 to 50 speed on those. Here's the interval scale. So this one is what Lightburn will replace by having it built in. The only difference here is, you see, instead of just squares, I was able to use this design, which the site that produces these, you can pick a square, you could pick this design, you could pick, like, for some of these tests, like an eyeball. So this one, we go from 10% up to 100%, and then the interval is 0.1 to 0.3. So the Lightburn one is going to give you more information, I think. Yeah, I like intervals because that tells you what you can get away with. The less lines per inch that you can do, the faster the engraving is going to go. And then here finally is just an advanced power scale that I did for plywood. This one goes from 10% to 80%, and it goes from 200 millimeters a second to 1,000 millimeters a second. So as fast as the machine will run. Now I will say, doing this engraving, we probably never actually hit 1,000 millimeters a second. It's got to have time to slow down, come back, and in that amount of time, it's got to be able to speed up to 1,000. And I don't know if there's enough room here to actually speed up to 1,000 and actually hit it. It'd be very rare you'd ever run anything really that fast anyways. But yeah, those are the different ones that we have here that I've done. So let me show you, if we go back to the desktop. Okay, so that's that one. Again, it's just squares, but yeah, it works. You can do a dithered image instead of a simple fill. So let's preview that and take a look. So that is pretty cool. That is much closer to the engraved test that I did. That's what I did there, and I called it an engraved test, but it's basically a dithering test. So yeah, so you could do the engraved test here as well with that dithering pattern, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's go back up. So next thing, material test. Material test is pretty slick. This again is just more of the same. Let's preview what this one looks like out of the box. Looks very similar to some of those other ones. You have some finer control here. You can do how many passes you would like it to do. You can edit the this is like for the title of the material. This is the text settings. Once you get a good material test set up, say for plywood, then you could hit save and name it, and it would then show up in this preset box. I've not done any material testing yet using this process, but I plan to, and when I do, I'll make a video about it, and we can kind of go over it together. That's what that looks like. You have a lot of control here. You have different parameters here as well, so if you wanted to change this to an interval test, you could, and then you get the different intervals, which is kind of nice. Different way to do it. You can change this to passes, and so it's not going to look any different on here, but if we, so you got 1 pass, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10 passes. So if we watch this run, okay, 1 pass, does it twice each box, then 3 times each box. So this will give you a good idea of, you know, if I want a deep engraving, how many passes and how much power and what speed do I need to run it at. So when you do this one, you'll see that you get a minimum of 1, max of 10. That's how many passes, 1 through 10. speed and power, that's the normal one. I was looking to see, so if you do passes, what's the power setting that it's going to take? I mean, power's over here, but if, let's say you did passes and speed, where does it pick up the power from, I wonder? What power setting is it actually using? I don't know the answer to that question. If you're not picking power in one of these, it might be picking it up from here, is what I would assume. That it's going to do 520. And of course, so 20% power with the speed going from 10 to 300. I think. Not sure. All right, let's move on. Center finder. Now, this is the, well, to me, this is the big one. All right. So I did some of these coasters. Now, these were pre-bought coasters, so they were already cut into this shape. But what I did was I measured how big it was, which I didn't need to do. I'll explain in a minute. And I went from the inside. So I lined up my first dot on one of these edges of these circles, and then you do 3 dots. So you do one here, you do one up here on that dot, and then you come down, you do another one down here or something, and that gives the laser its triangulation to find the center of the circle, right? So, why is that cool? Because you don't have to mark the center. You don't need to have, I mean, this is, you know, it's round, but it's odd shape round. You know, it's got all these bumps and stuff, so it's kind of hard to measure. And then, you know, you can get one of those V-shaped center finders and draw yourself a thing, but I didn't have to draw on this. And when you're dealing with thin stock, you don't want to have to draw on it, because that means you've got to sand it or something to get rid of it. But I wanted to show you how that would work, and I was wondering, just on curiosity, can it work to find the center of a square? I think it can. So let's measure out this square. So this square is, if we measure the, let's measure the back. Let's do that. So it's 136 millimeters by, hopefully it's 136 by 136. It is. So it's a perfect square, which is good. So it should work. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the circle center finder tool in Lightburn to find the center of a square. Because I like to do things differently. I don't know. Because I think it'll work. And again, it gives me something that I don't have to then mark up to find the center of. And I want to try it a couple of different ways. I want to hit 3 corners. Let's see if that'll do it. Which I don't think it will. I don't know. I think I need to hit the sides, 3 sides. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to try it. The more I think about it, the less I think it's going to work. I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. So, let me turn the laser on. Alrighty. So, turn this on here. Okay. So, let's see, we go to Lightburn. Now, what we do is we say set first circle point. So we're going to take the we're going to take our box here and put it in here. And the first thing I'm going to go ahead and autofocus to that. So I've got it on autofocus. Let's see. And I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to go up until that red light turns, or go down, I mean, until that red light turns off. There we go. That did it. All right, so let's bring this over here. Now, that's a great view. Sorry. So let's see. Let me grab something to set the camera on here. Like another one of these boxes. Just to get you up level. Looking more down at it than... Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to line this up on... Let's do a corner. I think the corners are our best bet. So I'm going to line it up on a corner perfectly. Alright? I'm not going to do anything else. Okay? So, okay. Alright, so laser tools, center finder, set first circle point. Now it tells us to go to another point and set the second circle. So that's what we're going to do. So, I'm going to drive this laser straight up. Slow my speed down now. Move it in until I see red on there. Okay. Now, let's go back to Lightburn. Set the second point. Now we need to set the third point. So back to the laser. And we're going to set a third point now. Okay, I'm going to just get it right on that corner. Okay, we'll see if this works. In my head, it's just not going to work, but it might. You know, I don't know. It might work. All right, set the third point. Okay, now you see that it says jog to circle center. So I'm going to set you guys here. I'm going to hit that button and we're going to see if it's going to go into the center of that square or not. I don't think it will. We'll see. I don't know. Hey, look at that. It worked. Check that out. Okay, so can you use the center finder tool meant for circles to find the center of a square? The answer, yes. Yes, you can. I mean, that is smack dab in the center. I think we need to burn something on there. Let's go back to Lightburn and load up some artwork, and I'll show you how we use that. Whoops. Wrong button. Okay. All right, now I checked off this add guide circle to project. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. Now we have a guide circle. So what we can do is over on the laser, I can hit origin, set the origin to the center of that box. Now, as long as I don't move that box, it doesn't matter what I do with this circle anymore. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Let's load up some artwork. What should we put on there? April 20th is coming up, so let's put something like that. Center it, shrink it by, I don't know, 90%. Whoop. When you do that, make sure that it's locked. And we'll just go, well, that'll probably fit. And then what you want to do over here in laser is change this to user origin, send it to the center. Okay. Now when we send this, it should fit just fine. Let's go ahead and set our cuts and layers. 520, that's actually correct, so I don't need to do anything there. Since I'm doing an engraving, I'm going to use my new focus tool, and we're going to focus down to that 4.7. So I know we're a little higher than that right now. So let's see. I'll do that. Okay. 4.7 on the money. All right, pull that out. Now I know that my engraving is going to be about as good as it can get, so that when I send this job back over, or when this job gets sent over, we should get a fairly good engraving out of it. So let me send it over now. We'll just call this Hi till D, because short names, gotta love it. Bring it up on the controller here, and we'll frame it out. So again, I've already set the origin to the center of that box. Now I'm just going to frame it. Oh, I gotta set my speed up. Don't know why it went so far outside the box. Oh, yes, I do. Let me move you guys back. You're going to get hit. The circle is bigger than the box, right? So we know that that box was 136 millimeters wide. I should have looked at this before. We should have just set this to 130 and called it good. Resend that. All right, my bad, but we'll get it fixed here. So, resent that. Sorry about that. Let me move you back up nice and close. Bring that file back up and reframe it. Look at that. Smack dab in the center. I love it. Doesn't get much better. Alright, I say we run this job and see how it comes out. This will be the first one I've run at that 4.7 focus since I did that focus test, so we'll see if it makes a good difference or not. Here we go. Now, me personally, I start the machine with the lid open, okay? I do that on purpose so that nothing happens until I close the lid and hit enter. That gives the fan time to spool up. All right, here we go. Let's go take a look. I need to clean that nozzle. It looks dirty. Well, that's not good. I've got no air. Thought that nozzle looked dirty. Oh wait, it's not testing. There it is. Yeah, well, I've got air. Okay. Good. Sometimes you got to check that. I have a dog, and he gets behind there and sometimes knocks the cord a little loose. All right, let's take a look at it here. Well, that looks pretty darn good. Let's give it a quick sanding. There we go. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, I like it. Happy with it. If you're wondering, this, what it's for, actually, is for these coasters that we made, or that I made. These Snoop Dogg coasters. They came in these. So, not too bad. I don't know. I just love that. That photo I engraved, but I did all the processing in Lightburn for that. I didn't use Imager or anything like that. I did it all in Lightburn. So yeah, so that's what that's for. Hold the coasters. But yeah, we can take maybe a closer look at this if we, let's see here, Dream Deck or something, but here, take a look at it. Oh, why it looks so dirty? Because it is, but that's like stained in the wood at the top there. Anyways, there it is. And yeah, it's this piece of ply that's on the bottom here is really thin. Just to give you an idea of how thin that actually is, we could have cut through that like butter. So, you know, man, that's funny. I guess you could make it a light box. Put some LEDs in here and light it up from underneath. It might look cool. Anyhow, there it is. Getting ready for Snoop Dogg's concert here in Lincoln, Nebraska on April 20th. I'm not exactly sure why he chose Nebraska, but he did, so it is what it is. Yeah, I think that's it for today, guys.